All right. This is my first live stream in a few years. Thank you all for joining me. I appreciate it. Special live stream on Sunday. Normally don't do videos on Sunday, but I had a special guest, a viewer. I really, really like my viewers because they just have great questions. They're pattern finders. They're very smart. I learned a lot from my viewers. And Brandy was one of those people who's kind of been teaching me. She's someone who actually her husband reached out and said that she had a medbed story to share, and I talked to her a little bit, and I was very impressed with Brandy, and I feel like her story has not been heard enough, and her stories like that hurt like hers need to be heard, because there are things that a lot of things going around the world that are very difficult to believe. But if everyone is brave like Brandy and can speak up about these paranormal experiences, even though it might not portray you in the best light, I think we can bring more awareness to a subject that honestly needs more awareness. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and add Brandy. Welcome, Brandy. Welcome to
Hello,
the
thank
stream.
you.
The stream.
So
I'm already
my video seems to be lagging quite a bit, and so I apologize for that, but you can hear me pretty well. So that should work.
Yeah. And look at that. We have 7 viewers. We hit over
Yay.
10. I'll be happy. That's great. I'm glad we have a live audience. Well, thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it. 7 viewers already is a great start. Did you want to start telling us? So basically, what we're going to go through is talking about some of the health issues that Brandy had, talk about the experience she had, and then where her health is in the end, because she has an amazing story to tell, and I just can't wait to get into it. I have a million questions, but I'll give the floor to you, Brandy. Go ahead. It's all
Yeah, thank
yours.
you, Peter, for saying
Hmm.
that. That's super kind, and
Hmm.
kindness is awesome when it has to do with topics like this because a lot of people are not so kind, and so I appreciate you a whole lot.
No
Um,
problem.
so let me just start by saying that I had been disabled for many, many years. I went through cancer, I went through pulmonary embolisms, and I had a lot of damage in my lower back due to a couple of things. One being a really rare genetic mutation called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And then also, I have another very rare genetic mutation called oculodentodigital dysplasia. The Ehlers-Danlos syndrome actually made my joints dislocate very easily. And so years ago, I would be bartending and my knee would dislocate, or, my hips dislocated, my shoulder. Um,
Right.
and so I went through a lot of pain from that and, didn't know why. And so then they did genetic testing on me in 2017, which I found really interesting that it happened in 2017. If you think about what was going on in the world, maybe who became president, I
Yeah.
tend to think that that had something to do with it, but that's just my
Absolutely.
belief.
Absolutely.
Um,
And I just want
and
to pause you
so
there.
when
Do you mind if I pause you right there? Just for the new viewers that are arriving, this is a MedBed user that we believe is a MedBed user. For the people who are watching, joining us, we're going to be going through some health problems she had, why we believe that she had a real MedBed experience, not these fake MedBeds they sell all over California that are just like energy healing things that are not real. We're talking about what I believe potentially a real MedBed experience and real MedBed user. So if you just joined us, that is basically what she's going into now. It looks like we lost your video
Oh,
there for a second. Are you there with us, Brandy,
I'm
still?
here. I'm here.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
back.
Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, go ahead and continue the story. I just want to keep the viewers. It's called the hook. You have to hook
Yeah,
them with what we're actually going to talk about, and then they'll stick around. But go ahead, Brandy.
right. Okay. So, um, based upon my severe pain, I was on a whole lot of medicine. I was on pain medicine for years. I had severe acid reflux where I couldn't even lay flat, probably due to a lot of the medications that I was on. But so I basically after they did genetic testing on me in 2017, they came back and did a second genetic testing on me in, I believe it was 2018, maybe early 2019. And my pain management doctor said, we need to get you into this research study. And
Hmm.
so I went to see the doctor for the research study. I got in for the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I thought that she was a an EDS specialist, and that's why I was meeting with her, and she was going to be treating me. They through the research study, they also gave me a neurologist I'm in Tucson, Arizona. They gave me a neurologist up in Phoenix, and so I had met with the geneticist, and she asked me some very odd questions that I found
Hmm.
interesting, like, what's the weirdest thing that's ever happened to you? And I thought, well, that's odd. Why would she ask me that?
That is an odd
Um,
question.
a very odd question. I uh, later did some research on her and found that she was actually a cancer geneticist, but she didn't tell me that she worked in cancer. So I found that really interesting as well. I did not get to see the neurologist because, the big C thing happened, and when that happened, I could only see him through video. So
Hmm.
this was literally right before my healing started. We had a video call. He asked me a lot of specifics about my back pain and things like that. And then within, I would say, maybe a week, uh, I'm laying in bed. I had become bedbound because of my pain, and so I was in bed all the time.
One,
I was
one more
laying
quick
in
question there, Brandy. You
sure,
said who was asking you all these questions? This was which doctor?
the neurologist,
The urologist. Okay. And so he asked a
neurologist.
bunch of odd questions, and then one
Yeah,
week later,
yeah, the neurologist. He's a
neurologist. Okay.
neurologist. Yeah,
Okay.
and so he had asked me a lot of questions about my back pain, and then I would say a week later, I'm laying in bed, and during the day, it was broad daylight. I was awake, and this frequency, this vibration, very strong vibration. It wasn't something that was light that I could, it was like, am I feeling something? Oh no, it was extremely strong. And when it hit me, everywhere that I hurt, I also had a problem with adhesion, scar tissue. I had had 5 abdominal surgeries to get rid of scar tissue. And they said, you're a super grower. So I was hurting in my abdomen. I was hurting in my back. I was hurting in my neck. I was, there was a whole lot of pain. But when it hit me, everywhere that I hurt, it hurt worse. And I'm not going to say it was unbearable. It wasn't. It was something that I could handle, but it definitely rocked my world. And I started rolling around the bed trying to get away from. I was thinking I was being targeted, like I was a targeted individual.
Yeah.
I started researching, and I'm like, there's these targeted individuals. Is this what's happening to me?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so
Yeah, I
I
think these are
used
like direct energy weapons and stuff like
right.
that. Like they actually use that recently in Venezuela. They use these energy weapons. So it's a real technology.
Mhm.
But that was the offensive weaponized one you think that was possibly used against you. You thought at the time because your pain was getting worse, but it turns out
Right.
it wasn't an attack, right?
Right. And I figured that out later on. So, you know, I at some point had been looking out my Ring camera. At the day that the frequency started, I'm looking
Mm.
out my Ring camera and I see all these SOSs. It looked like it was written like a hologram, or you could see through it. But and so I started taking screenshots through my Ring camera, and
Mm.
they showed me a whole lot of things. And this, I ended up with 30,000 screenshots by the end of it. um, and I did put some of those screenshots in my book, but it was, I saw medical crosses everywhere. And so at that point, I realized, I believed that they were there to help me. Whoever it was, whatever it was, they were trying to show me that, we're here to help. And so I kind of just succumbed to the whole thing. I stopped using my phone to try and triangulate where it was coming from and what it was. And I had put all these different apps on my phone trying to figure out, you know, what I was being hit with. So when I realized that they were there to help me, I stopped doing that. And I just started, paying attention outside. I mean, I was on my Ring camera constantly, and they showed me many things. One thing that they showed me was me, a hologram picture of me outside my house. It was huge. And there was this little, what I can only describe as what most people would call a little alien. And he was in the tree and he threw something out, and that the hologram picture came out. And you could see through it, and it was humongous. It was probably almost the whole size of a small tree outside my house.
Crazy. That's
And
crazy.
I was smiling in the picture, so but I could see it was me, so I did take a screenshot. But I was so shocked by it that I didn't get the screenshot initially. It was as it was kind of dissipating, but you can still see it in the screenshot.
To be fair, they sometimes do not want you to record certain things. Like I find that every opportunity I had to like capture a paranormal thing and I had a camera on me, I just
Right,
never think to capture it, even though that's like the one thing I want to capture more than anything. But
right.
just to back up what you're saying about tree alien, let me see if I can show this to the audience. But the tree alien thing is actually a well-known phenomenon. There's been
Wow,
documentaries on it, TV shows on it, even a movie about it, where these creatures will literally be in trees and stuff will happen, weird stuff will happen. So,
wow. Yeah, I actually called them the tree people
uh,
in my book,
tree people,
because
yeah,
that's what I called them as I was being healed.
I believe it. I mean, it's crazy that you called it the tree people. Here I go. Here it goes. Let's see if I can show them. Let's see if it's popping up here. So this is her book, by the way, Chronically Ill No More. And
Mm-hmm.
then if we zoom in here, we can see
Yeah,
that this
zoom
is
in
one of
on
her
that cover.
screenshots. Yeah, let me just see if I can zoom in
That
here.
was one of
I'm
my
not.
screenshots.
Yeah, so this is the weird. Do you want to explain what we're looking at here,
Yes.
Brandy?
So if you zoom out a little, you can see that there's a whole lot of green color with almost what looks like little beings with black eyes. I don't know if you can see that, but and then I actually circled the robot that was on my patio. And so you can see it's a black and white robot and certainly matches somebody else's robots in the world.
Yeah, it
And so,
looks like Elon Musk's, right?
right?
A little bit like
Doesn't
Elon
it?
Musk. It
Yes, it
does.
does. And
And
so
this
I
is,
I
go
did
ahead.
name a couple of people in my book that I felt were involved in my healing, and he was definitely one of them. I believed that
Interesting.
he and Trump were working together long before anyone else did, and everybody
Mm.
told me I was crazy for that as well. And then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
look what happened.
Yeah. So I didn't want to interrupt your story. It was just
That's
starting to
okay.
get really good. So these tree aliens, as you can see, this tree alien phenomenon is real. It's a real phenomenon. I just want to say this because like a lot of the stuff that people like me and Brandy and other people say always sounds a little bit out there until you realize if you actually do some research, a lot of the wild, in fact, 99% of all the paranormal experiences that I had, I looked it up and other people had it too. And
Well, that's
so
amazing.
it's yeah, so it's happening to a lot of people right now.
Well, at the
I
time that
that
I went through this, I couldn't find anybody that was going through.
mm,
And maybe I was just looking in the wrong place, but I couldn't find anybody that had gone through what I had gone through. Um,
interesting.
I think there was and I can't find it again, but there was a movie on Netflix or a series where they talked about possibly an alien encounter where they were healed. Um,
Interesting.
and I have recently found
Interesting.
a couple of other stories like that, but
Yeah.
at
No,
the
it's
at
it's
the
it,
time,
it's
I felt completely alone.
got it. It's scary. And so you said you were seeing these creatures in the trees putting out these holograms, which I'm pretty
Right.
sure that's actually similar to what the other people who saw these tree aliens were saying. There was like holograms. I'm pretty sure they were also saying
Really?
holograms. I think so. I'm pretty sure. It
Wow.
sounds familiar to me. When I heard it, I was like, I've heard that story before.
Wow.
Sounds familiar. But anyway, continue your story. I want to get to the more
Yeah.
exciting parts because it gets more exciting.
So they actually started showing me laying like it looked like a picture of me, but again, like a hologram you could see through, where I would be laying on my stomach. And so I felt like they were trying to tell me, lay on your stomach. And so I laid on my stomach and I could literally feel them working on my back. At one
Whoa.
point, they showed
So
me,
so
go
wait,
ahead.
let's rewind that. That's very interesting. So you said they were like sending you this message to the hologram, or was it telepathically
No,
to
no,
get
it
on your
was
stomach?
out my Ring camera. Everything was out
You
my
were
Ring
seeing it.
camera.
So they
I
were like
was
sending
seeing
you
it.
messages
Yeah,
through, and you
I
were seeing on
believe,
the ring camera. And
yeah,
then
it's almost like they hacked my camera and they were showing me through my Ring camera, okay, this
what
is
to
what we
do.
need you to do. So I'd lay on my
Interesting.
stomach. Uh,
Wow.
they would work on my back. One day it said, it's arm day. Sorry, it's raise your arm day because my shoulder had been dislocated for about a month. I couldn't wash my own hair. And all of a sudden, I could feel them working on my shoulder. And lo and behold, that shoulder has not dislocated since.
Wow, that's crazy.
So
Can we
then,
list how many health problems you had beforehand,
sure.
before you started experiencing healing? So you had herniated discs at the time, is that
Yeah,
correct?
I had many herniated discs. I
Yep.
had spinal stenosis, degenerative disc disease, um,
You said your
and
your joints were popping out?
yeah, including my spine.
Oh,
And so that's how
crazy.
the herniated discs happened so easily, was because of this
Wow.
genetic issue that caused me
Jeez,
to dislocate everything. I
crazy.
have not had a dislocation since, by the way, of any
That
kind
is
anywhere
crazy.
in my body. Um,
But let's
yeah,
let's let's get back into it. So they were healing you, and then at some point, something happened, like you were taken. How many
yeah.
sessions of healing did you get before something happened like that? And then could you get into that story? I'm very excited about that story.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard looking back on it to do a timeline because it's almost like everything kind of runs together, but I feel like it was about 2 to 3 months.
Okay.
And I had kind of started work. I just felt like I was being led through things like music. I would hear music and it would make sense. And I would see something in video and it somehow made sense to what I was going through. But I felt like I was kind of being led. I had a lifetime of trauma. I had gone through a lot of abuse. I had gone through a lot of death in my life. And so I had PTSD, anxiety, and depression as well, and was on a whole lot of medication for those, along with my pain. And so I felt like I was being led through just sort of working on myself, working on my trauma. I started doing deep breathing exercises. I started going through, almost doing a review of my life and actually like releasing people that had died. I felt like I had held on to them, and I had let the sadness almost overtake me. And so I felt like I was releasing them. And I told them, like, I went through everybody that had passed and I said, I have to let you go. And I imagined letting them go. And I, started forgiving people that had harmed me, even people that had abused me. And I imagined them in my mind and I said, I want to forgive you. I release this from my body. And so I just started feeling lighter and lighter and lighter. Um, and then one evening, I'm laying in bed and it was like I was just wished up really fast, like super fast. And what I saw, or what it appeared to be, was that I was in some sort of a silver room, um, a silver room with where there were beings in there, but I couldn't see what they looked like because they were blurred. They were blurred out, and
Were these tall beans, skinny
I
beans? Did they
couldn't
look
even
human or
tell.
alien? What
couldn't
did he look
even
like?
tell.
Couldn't even
Their
tell.
whole thing was everything was just blurred. And
Gotcha.
I personally think that that was so that I didn't get scared. But then the
Yeah.
next thing happens, which I've always been petrified of snakes. And this big black snake came in and bit me. And before it bit me, I said out loud, you know, I'm scared of snakes. And I don't know why I thought to say that, but I felt like they just knew that. And all of a sudden, after it bit me, I was brought back to my bed. And I immediately had to get up and hobble to the restroom to get sick. And the next day was the first day that I could walk without the wheelchair. And I've thought a lot about this, about what that could have been. Um, I do know that they have done research into using snake venom on paralyzed people. That was one of my thoughts. My Another one
Interesting.
of my thoughts, because I believed that Elon was involved, was possibly being having a Neuralink implanted when the snake bit me. Like that was a symbolism or
Yeah.
some sort of, you
Yeah,
know,
let's talk about that for a second because again, we don't know who or what abducted you,
right,
but it is pretty well known that people who do get abducted do get I wasn't sure I would call them like Neuralink because that's like the brand that Elon Musk used,
right,
but there are chips that are found very often in people who are abducted or taken.
yeah,
Me personally, I've considered getting a full body MRI to see if there's any weird anomalies, but I'm also like, what am I gonna do about it? Like, if they
right,
find a chip in me, if they find a chip in you, now it's like what? Either you're gonna stress out about it or ask for surgery, and that's money. It's just like it won't add any value to my life. But
right,
it's a very well-known phenomenon that after someone is taken, I guess they show particular interest in you and you get embedded with a tracking device. I think most
right.
people do.
Well, and I
So
do have I would call it a lump on my abdomen that I did not have before this experience. I don't know that that's what that is, but I found it odd that it showed up after. Um, so who knows? You know, I don't know. I
yeah,
can't explain it, but again, this is kind of me as I was going through this, what I was thinking, what I was seeing in the world, and trying to somehow make sense of it. It's funny because a lot of people, you know, that hear my story, they'll say, "Oh, it was definitely aliens," or some people were like, "Oh, it's definitely the military," or "Oh, you
demons.
definitely had a spiritual experience." And I actually tend to think all of those things could be involved. Um, I think that it's very possible. But so, you know, they would show me a picture outside of me holding my eyes open. And so I would hold my eyes open. I held my eyes open and it felt like they were doing laser surgery on my eyes. And I no longer had to wear glasses after that.
That's crazy. Can you get into that a little bit more? When
Yeah.
was this on that? Was it when they took you up that they did this, or
No,
was this while you were lying in bed?
this was all of most of my healing was mainly in bed. I would
Bed.
say the only
Gotcha.
other time that I had healing somewhere else was the second time that I felt that I was taken up. And again, I'm laying in bed, all of a sudden I'm shot up somewhere. And what I saw was a large tree and it had a door. And for whatever reason, I knew I needed to push the door open. So I pushed the door open. And when I got inside, it was the brightest light I've ever seen in my entire life. Like I couldn't even hold
Wow.
my eyes open because it was so bright.
Mhm.
And I felt it was like waves and waves falling over me of absolute love. Like I felt the most amazing love I have ever felt in my entire
Really?
life.
Really? Did you feel a being's presence there?
Well, I heard a voice,
Did
and
you feel Go
when the
ahead.
voice spoke to me, I just knew, or that I don't know what everybody believes here, but for me, I believe that it was God. I believe I had an experience with God, and
Interesting.
basically because of what I was told, and you know, I put that in the book, but it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And he said to me, Brandy, you're going to heal and you're going
Who said
to
this?
tell.
This was the person. This was this God or this word you feel was God. He said you're
Yes,
gonna heal.
yes.
Wow.
And
Wow.
after that experience, when I was brought back to my bed,
Mhm.
I just knew, like my PTSD, my anxiety, it was gone. And it was like
That's
not
crazy.
only was my body being healed, but I was being healed emotionally and spiritually. And I will tell you, I'll be really honest, because of all the trauma I had, I hadn't believed in God in a very long time. And I was pretty angry at God. I thought, well, how could God allow this much to happen to one person and be okay with that? I now see it very differently after that experience. And I realized that I believe that I was being given gifts of lessons that I needed to learn through all of these traumatic experiences. And, you know, if I hadn't gone through what I went through, I would not be able to sit here and tell this story because I would not have the bravery or the, I just wouldn't be able to. And so now, obviously when you meet God, you cannot deny God. So,
Right. Right.
it's not something that, but I believe I was being prepared to be able to go through what I'm going through right now and be
For
able to
sure.
tell the story.
I did want to share a little bit quickly. Like I've had somewhat a similar experience and similar things that might relate to your story. Like it might sound kind of weird for aliens to come and want to take someone's pain away or heal them. And I get that is weird, but I did have experience with my mom, and I have the first video on this whole YouTube channel is a documentary on it about my experiences. And she was injured in Panama. She fell down the stairs, cracked her rib. She was stuck in a poor hospital in Latin America with no painkillers because they had been stolen by the local drug dealers.
Oh,
And my dad saw three gray aliens walk in the room, pull out a silver wand, and she was like screaming in pain. And at the time, my dad had apparently like 200 people somewhere else in Panama praying to God to take my mom's pay away because she was in so much pain. And my dad was a pastor in Panama. And they were
wow.
all praying, please take her pain away. Please take her pain away. Praying and praying. And that's when these three great aliens walk in with a silver wand and they wave it over my mom's, and her pain is gone for
Wow.
I don't know how long, but it was instantly. It was like the worst pain she ever had, and boom, it was completely gone. So like
I wonder if
these
that
weird things.
wand, I wonder if that
What?
wand could have been a frequency.
It must be something that's going through. It's that's the saying. It was not touching her. So it's like this
Yeah.
idea of being healed or pain being taken away through a distance or electromagnetically. Like a lot of the medbed research that I've shown, it's like
Mhm.
they are stimulating things with electricity with electromagnetic fields. They've admitted they have patents to stimulate protein synthesis, would actually basically telling your body it's regeneration time, it's healing time,
Right.
doing that with electrical signals. So waving a wand over someone
Hmm.
and healing them. And also so part of the medbed thing that's interesting here with Brandy is I had never heard of this at a distance medbed type technology that could heal you.
Hmm.
Did you want to share a little bit of that story you told me about that woman? Because you said you felt compelled to tell this story to different people.
Yeah. So this kind of, we're jumping forward a little bit
Oh
after.
yeah, maybe too much. We'll jump a little
That's
bit
okay.
back
That's
too.
okay. I'll just tell it really quick. After I had been healed and I had a jewelry shop, and people would come in and I would just I'd get full body chills, and I would say, I don't know why I'm supposed to tell you my story, but I am. And so I would tell them, and every person that I said that to, that I told my story to, and I guess with different people, maybe I focused on different things as well, and I didn't even know why. But I would tell them, and then at the end, they'd say, I know why you were supposed to tell me. And I would say, oh, okay, why? And excuse me, they would say, well, here's why. And so this one woman, same thing. And she came out and said, I know where you were supposed to tell me. She said, have you ever heard of MedBed technology? And I said, I have, because when I went through this, I was looking into okay, who has this technology? What is this technology? And I did a whole lot of research, and that's what I found that came closest to what I believe it was. And she said, well, I've heard of medbed technology too. And she said, what I have heard is that it's frequency based. And I said, well, that makes sense. And she said, but now I'm about to freak you out. And I said, well, I had some aliens show up at my house and heal me. I don't think you can freak me out. And she said, well, I've also heard that the military is in charge of that technology currently and that they are healing chronically ill patients first. And I said, well, that makes a whole lot of sense, doesn't it? And
That is
so,
crazy.
you know,
Wow.
I I feel incredibly blessed and grateful that I was chosen for this research study.
Yeah.
I do
It,
also think, there's a YouTube video, it's a TED Talk, and they talk about shattering cancer with frequencies, right? And so
it's
if
the
you think
thing.
about that, and then you think about the fact that this geneticist that I saw was a cancer geneticist, but she didn't tell me that, I honestly thought possibly I had cancer and they were, experimenting on me to heal me with whatever was going to come out and heal a whole lot of people.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Definitely. I mean, this all is very, very interesting to me. A lot of it sounds like either, and this is just my theory. I think that you may have been in possibly a trial of these type of technologies. If it's a situation where the military is building this out, they need to test this on people. Maybe they want to test a specific frequency for healing a specific ailment, and you were the
Mhm.
one to do it. And they're like, all right, let's test it on her in bed. We'll just send the frequency over.
Well, I had a
Maybe
whole
when you
I
were
had a
taken
whole
up,
lot. Oh, sorry, go
what?
ahead. Yeah, I had a whole lot of things that they could test. It
Yeah,
made me a good
exactly.
candidate for experimenting with different frequencies because I had so many different things going on. And so that's what
Interesting.
I believe they did
That
for
makes so
sure.
you were like a good trial is like, oh, look at all these different things we can fix and see if this one makes this one worse and makes this one better. And then the
Right.
fact for me that even though this is not something you said originally, but what really makes me think that this is some form of medbed technology is when you said that you were taken up, that
Hmm.
when you literally the next day you were able to walk again. And so like
Hmm.
that drastic change and like right after being taken up makes me wonder like even though it was a snake biting you, I wonder if other stuff were going on. If you had medbed, if you were put in a
Hmm.
medbed there, or you were put in medbed the second time you were taken,
Right.
or if they're just trying to use this technology and you were never inside an actual bed that was a
Hmm.
actual med bed and they were just using different types of med bed type technologies as a trial
Right.
on you. What did you want to share your thoughts on that and also get list out all these different health problems that are now gone that are kind of like
Yeah.
unexplainably gone?
Yeah, I do think that it's possible that medbed technology, like there's different types of medbeds. I will tell you that right after this healing, I looked a lot younger than I did before this
Mm,
healing. I've heard that
really?
there are age regression.
Wow.
Did I go back to 20 years old? No, but I sure did look a little bit younger. And so,
Interesting.
um,
Wow.
and I lost 70 pounds after this healing because I
Crazy.
had gained
Wow.
a whole lot of weight being in bed, being in pain in general.
Yeah,
I couldn't move. And so
sure.
obviously when you can't move, you gain weight. And
Mhm,
I was
mhm.
I had come up as a diabetic. Um, I by the way, had high cholesterol, and I no longer have and I've reversed the high cholesterol, the diabetes. Um,
So, the cholesterol, diabetes, the
mhm.
joint issues are gone, and you
Yeah.
were talking about the herniated disc. Can you tell that story real quick? Because that was mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, I mean, that was my most severe pain. When you have more than, say, one herniated disc, even one is painful. But when you have several, five herniated discs, you pretty much can't move very well. And so that's how I became bedbound, really, was mainly the degeneration and everything in my back. Now, I will say that, I can still tell that I feel like my joints are still a little loose, but again, I haven't had any dislocations at all. And
And then,
so,
and you were telling me that with the herniated discs that you had asked your doctor because you didn't like an MRI for something else.
oh yeah, so a year ago I fell and I cracked my tailbone. Fun. And so while I was in the ER and they had done imaging of my lower back to check my tailbone, I said, "Can you just go in there and look and see if you see any kind of herniated discs or, stenosis or anything like that?" And he kind of looked at me funny, like, "Excuse me?" And I said, "Just humor me, please, And he went and he looked and he came back and he said, "No, I don't see anything like that."
Hmm.
And so I had already previously known I was healed, but to hear someone say that,
Wow.
I didn't mention, but I was given right before this healing, I was put on chronic care management and I was given a nurse that I could text at any point. And any time of the day, night, I could text her and she would answer me back. So right after I started walking again, the nurse that I had from the beginning, she texted me and she said, "I just want you to know," and I hadn't told anybody that I was walking. I hadn't told any doctors, hadn't told anyone besides my friends and family. But um, so she said to me, "I'm passing you on to another nurse. I'll be leaving." And in my mind, I believe that I had the first nurse that I got, she was like the heavy hitter nurse, like the chronic, like she deals with all the really bad stuff, right? And then as I was being healed, they were passing me on to a lower level nurse that could handle kind of my aftercare of being healed, is what I believe. And so but her words were very interesting to me. She said, I'm passing you along. And she said, "But I want you to know something." She said, "I want you to know that your story will carry me throughout my career." And I was like, "What in the world is she?" I didn't tell her. How does she know something good happened? Like, how does she know? And what
Right.
I believe, we all hear about that they're able to. I've seen TikTok videos about how they're able to watch you through your TV or phone or anything that has a camera, right?
When he has a camera, yeah,
So
absolutely.
I
Anything with a
believe,
camera.
yeah, I believe that they were watching me through my TV. I did have a TV in the bed, a big TV in the bedroom.
Your TV has a camera on it?
My TV, it was a smart TV. And so I think even if it's a smart TV, I think they're able to,
They could
or
put
or
one
maybe
behind
it
the
was,
screen if they really
yeah,
wanted
or
to.
maybe it was my
Yeah.
phone. I
It
I
could be
don't
your
know.
phone, yeah. Your phone's like the best spine device. They love that thing.
Probably, right. Or my tablet that I sat on for
Right,
hours,
right,
either
right.
way. But and so that's why I believed, a lot of people that would say, "Oh, it was just aliens." I think that, I believe that my doctors were involved. I believe it had to do with this research study. I believe that, oh, and by the way, right after the frequency started, I did contact the neurologist. Or no, I'm sorry. Let me go back. Right after I would say maybe a week after the frequency started, the neurologist contacted me after we had had that previous video call. I didn't have an appointment with him. I didn't reach out to him. It was him that reached out to me. And he immediately, right as I got on the phone, he said, "How does your back feel?" And I said, "I'm sorry, what?"
Neurologist? Wait, the neurologist said this?
The
Huh.
neurologist, yes. He said,
How does
and
your back feel, he says?
well, he was the one that had previously asked me about my back pain, and we went over kind of all the places I was hurting and things like that in my back. And so immediately he said, "How does your back feel?" And I said, back to him immediately, I said, "Do you know about the frequency?" He would not answer that question. He absolutely would not answer that question. I asked it 3 times. And he kept saying, "Well, where's your pain level at? How is your pain? What is your pain level at?" And I said, "Okay, so he knows." I knew he knew, right? And so the day that they did my joints, I'm looking at my Ring camera and I see what appears to be the most beautiful, like it was like a painting that had been um, painted in my front yard. And at the bottom of the painting was a signature. And so I decided I could read the signature. So I looked up who that was. And it was surprisingly a orthopedic surgeon in Phoenix, where the neurologist was as well. And I called their office because I was like, okay, you're the one that's been working on my joints. And so I called their office and they would not call me back. When does it? Because I told them my name. I said I would like to talk to you about my case. Because at the time I was
Question.
just looking for somebody to admit what was happening.
Yeah, question. So you said that you were just looking at your Ring camera and there was a beautiful painting with a signature, like an
Mhm.
artist, and you
Yeah.
could actually read the name and it was a real name you
Yes.
looked up, and if you found out it was from the same location of a doctor who had been treating you?
No, well, yeah, yeah, the neurologist. I'm in Tucson, and so the neurologist was in Phoenix, and this orthopedic surgeon that I found was also in Phoenix.
So
And
you
so I
just
thought,
saw this
and
it was just a name projected under
mhm,
this like drawing
right.
that was on the
Again, which
Ring
appeared
camera.
to be like a hologram
It
because you
appeared
could
like a
see through it.
hologram. Definitely those tree
Um,
aliens.
right.
Like what
So,
why are you seeing holograms in your Ring camera? This makes no
right.
sense.
So also I'm one of the many screenshots that I took, they would show me one night my patio light would be red, one night my patio light would be green. They showed me like it was almost like they were also entertaining me during the process because I would see like little I put in my book a picture of this face that was on my wall. Like they would just I mean it was just so many different things that I saw during this time, which is why I took 30,000 screenshots because there was so much to see. Um, Going through the pictures to or the screenshots to try and pick out pictures for my book was very difficult because I have so many. And so I tried to pick out the best ones, but I have still had a couple of people say, "Boy, I'd really like for you to point out what you're seeing in this photo," you know. And so I would love to do that at some point. Just kind of show the photos and point it out
Yeah.
because there were several things that were happening daily. So I would see these little three I called them the three little guys, and it looked like maybe three little spaceships. At one point, I could see this. How do I describe it? It's a light. It was a light, and within that light, it looked like in the inside of a spaceship. And
Interesting.
so I was seeing a whole lot of things like this that were coming daily. And then some days it would look a little bit different, but it was very similar. Along with, the tree beings, the tree people, there were also just what appeared to me as like some sort of ships or, but not like what I would imagine or what people say alien ships look like. And so I couldn't say for sure at the time. At the time, I was like, you know, and my ex-husband said something to the effect of, "Oh yes, the mothership is coming to get you," because I was telling everybody like, is it alien? Is it aliens or is it the military? I just couldn't figure it out at the time. Um, at the but I think as it went on, I tended to believe a little bit more that it definitely had a military. There was something about the military that was involved. There was something about whether it was aliens or they were portraying themselves as aliens. I can't say. I think at the time that's what I thought. Maybe it was easier to swallow the fact that I'm not having an alien encounter, I'm having a military encounter.
It's
For
totally possible. Yeah.
Yeah, for me that was easier to swallow, but I think over the
Yeah, it
years
is.
as this has happened and I've heard just like when you told me that, oh, there were these people in Alaska, was it that
Think of
um
Alaska, yeah.
yeah, that had this experience and and I have seen a lot of stories where people have alien encounters and they are healed. And so But I did go back to my doctor's office that got me into the research study. By the way, both of my primary care and my pain management doctor retired right at the same time, which
So
was
so let's list through that. So you got off pain meds, your eyes healed, your back healed, your joints healed,
mhm,
diabetic healing.
yep.
I mean, no one
Got off
expects you to
of
be. Go ahead.
got off of my depression. So I actually titrated all of my medications down at the same time. Within a month, I was off
That's
all of my
crazy.
medications.
That's insane.
And so
Some of
I
the medications you're on, insanely difficult to get off. Like,
Yeah, I was on a fentanyl
wow,
patch, I was on hydromorphone, I was on,
wow,
a whole lot of depression and PTSD, anxiety
incredible.
medicine. Excuse me. And so I titrated everything down. I got very sick because I did it way too fast, but I was determined. I
Month
said,
is fast.
if I wasn't, and what's sad is that for years I had, as many people on pain medicine are, I was told that I was just addicted to the pain meds. I
They
wasn't in
say,
pain.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
and what they found out for years, people kept saying that. And then when they did genetic testing on me to figure out how medications metabolized with my body, they actually found that I am someone that, well, I knew I couldn't be numbed at the dentist, but I also am someone that required double medication, like pain medicine. S- and
Interesting.
like most people, they can take this amount and it works. I could not, it did not work. And I kept saying to my pain management doctor, this isn't working. And she
Interesting.
she didn't believe me. Nobody believed me.
Do
And
you
so
do you
they
have a
did
cross? Go ahead. No, go
they
ahead.
did the genetic testing on me and found that, and I will never forget the day that my pain management doctor came into the office and said, she had tears in her eyes, and she said, "Oh my gosh, I finally believe you." And I said, "About what?" And she said, "Your genetics are different and you require double what everyone else requires." So just like when I had pulmonary embolisms and they used warfarin, a blood thinner, on me, and they could not regulate my blood. And one day it would be super thin, and the next day it would be super thick. And finally, after 6 months, my doctor just said, well, let's stop doing this. This is crazy. This is not helpful. You're coming in daily, getting your blood drawn, and we're noticing that it's not helping. And so let's take you off. Well, we found out with the genetic testing that actually I require double warfarin than everyone else. So that was
Interesting.
really interesting. And it was, something that everybody just kept thinking, oh, she's just wanting more pain medicine. And, that wasn't the case. It just was not helping my pain. And so, I went through many years of horrific pain without help. Um,
And so all these health problems, your eyes, your eyes. So how bad was, like, for example, your eyes? Because you said you had bad eyesight, you used glasses, and then you
yeah.
felt there was, like, at some point you were in bed and some lasers in your eyes, and then your eyesight improved. Can you get into that a little bit? Because that was interesting too.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like I wasn't using bifocals. My eyesight wasn't horrific, but it wasn't, it was bad enough that I had to wear glasses. I actually had one eye that was nearsighted and one eye that was farsighted. So both of
Wow.
my eyes were different, and I had been wearing glasses for several years, not long, but for at least several years. And yeah, it felt like they were, had to hold my eyes open because they showed me outside through my Ring camera that I would hold my eyes open. So I did that, and I no longer had to wear glasses. um
That's
Making
wild.
jewelry, at the time I was making jewelry in bed as I was being healed. And for the really tiny things, I would use my jeweler's glasses, but other than that, I have not had to wear glasses since.
I mean, I think everyone's eyesight over time, like 99% of people, they lose their close-up eyesight. That's what nearsightedness. It
Right.
can't be helped. It just happens with aging. So it's like no one expects that eyesight to be perfect, or even
Right.
your health to be perfect now. But the fact that, so let's just get into how many health problems. Let's count how many health problems were fixed in what period of time, because people understand. I need people to understand, like, how difficult it is. Like, for example, just even one herniated disc. I've been trying to heal one herniated disc for 4 years and
Mm,
have failed. I'm like this close to healing it, but it re-injures so easily,
right.
and it's just so much pain, and it's complicated. One herniated disc can take like 6 months to heal, and that's
Hmm.
kind of normal. That's just one. So you
Right.
had, so let's see, so eyesight, and then we had your joints, and
Hmm.
then diabetes, and then
High cholesterol.
high cholesterol, pain going away,
Oh,
or
acid
at least like
reflux.
acid reflex,
Hmm.
motion
And
need to be healed. All this happened in a span of how like 3 months, a year? What are we talking about?
well, it was probably, I mean, it was about 2 years that the frequency was hitting me.
Mm,
And so I would say most of the healing, though, happened in the very beginning. Um, Within 6 months, I would say most of everything was healed. And
wow.
so what I believe is if I had been in an actual bed,
Mhm.
I believe I would have been healed a lot faster. That's my belief. But,
Yeah.
and I went back to my doctor and that got me into the research study. And I said, okay, this is what I think is going on. I think you all were trying something on me that's not out yet. I even said that I believed that the first night when they came to, I think they came to get me, knocked on my door. And when I didn't answer my door, they started healing me in bed. And I told my doctor I really believed that I was supposed to be on one of the ships on the west and east coast for, the comfort ships, and that if I would have gone there, I probably would have been healed a lot quicker.
Okay,
But
let's get into this because you covered this story with me, but you hadn't get into the audience. About the men knocking on the door, because you brought it up
yeah,
quickly, but I realized that this audience hasn't heard that yet. So
right,
you want to
that's
share
true.
that
Yeah,
story?
the first night that they showed up, they did knock on the door, and it was a very loud knock, and I was at home alone, and it was 11 p.m. and, was certainly going through some stuff at the time, getting ready to get a divorce, or hoping to get a divorce. And so I was going through a whole lot with that. And so they came and knocked on the door. My dogs barked, they heard it. And that was initially what made me look out the Ring camera. Like, okay, who's
Interesting.
outside? It's 11 p.m.
Interesting.
And that's
Interesting.
when I saw the SOSs and the medical crosses. And
Wow.
so the medical cross looked exactly like the cross on the comfort ships. And so for whatever
Wow.
reason I made that correlation.
Mm,
Um, there were a lot of things during that time. Like it was like my spiritual gifts were definitely heightened. I
interesting.
was seeing things. I don't know if for those of you out there that know David Polites, he does Can-Am Missing. He did a whole series on missing people in the national parks, and he does a lot of Bigfoot and Sasquatch videos and research. And so I had looked at a picture of him in the newspaper, and I was seeing things in that picture that were not in the picture. Like I was seeing little fairies, I was seeing things in the forest behind him. And so I contacted him and I said, "Are there fairies in your picture?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Okay, I am seeing fairies in your picture and I'm going through something." I kind of explained to him what I was going through, that I believed I was going through some sort of a healing, and a frequency hit me. And, I think it's the military. And I was thinking this guy is totally going to think I'm crazy. But he actually responded back to me. And the only thing he said was, "You're going through something beautiful." And I was like, how does he know that? Probably through his research, he's heard stories just like mine. But I found it really interesting that he said it. And that's all he responded back to me.
It is interesting. I did want to talk about the comfort ships briefly for the audience who hasn't heard. There's this theory floating that um of all these children that are being rescued, that the med beds are being prioritized for them because of the severe, like physical, emotional, spirit, all the types of abuses that they've had. And so the theory goes that a lot of these children in tunnels or whatever are being brought to these military ships. They call them comfort ships that have medbed technology, or these hospitals where they're trying to rehabilitate and heal these children. It's not something that's been like confirmed yet, but I forget where that theory started, but it actually doesn't make it actually makes a lot of sense to me, because like, and a lot of what you're saying kind of makes sense with the connections that I've seen of and
Hmm.
everything, because you know, if aliens do exist and Trump's literally saying he's declassifying that information, probably the most tempting technology to want to give us is like healing technology, medbed
Yes.
technology. But likely, if they are super thousands and thousands years advanced, we can't just replicate their technology and build like a billion of them like that. Like
Right.
likely we gotta like test it and improve it and back engineer it and all that stuff. And for that, you're gonna need test subjects.
Right.
But obviously if they go over and they're like, hey Brandy, we're gonna test you, and Peter, we're gonna test you, and that, they're worried it's gonna everything's gonna get out. So it's
Right.
got to be in a compartmentalized way where they're just
Hmm.
like, maybe nurse, maybe the research program, maybe they weren't aware what was going on, or maybe they were, maybe to certain extents, like maybe they were just told enough to be like, just get these questions out of her, but don't give her any information. Or maybe
Right.
they were just told, feed me this information, but I'm not going to tell you what's going on over here. But I do
Right.
know that it makes a lot of sense that they would be practicing using different technologies on people, but they couldn't even tell them, hey, we're
Hmm.
using these medbed technologies on you, because that gets out, you know, a lot of things could happen. And
Yeah.
so but it does make sense
Well,
they
and
would do this.
I truly believed that this technology, it's not that I believed it. It's like I somehow just knew that this
Mm,
technology was Nikola Tesla technology, which the direct energy weapons are. And also then
yeah.
you go deeper into that little rabbit hole and realize, oh, there's a connection between Trump and Nikola Tesla and his Trump's uncle getting, a lot of the technology right after Nikola Tesla died. And so I went down
Really?
that rabbit hole real hard. And then,
Yeah.
I posted a video on my YouTube when Trump came out in one of his rallies, and he said, we are going to get rid of chronic illness. And I immediately stopped the video and I made a video and I said, how do you think he's going to do that? I know how he's going to do that. He's going to use the technology that they're using on me, you know? And so, and it's funny because obviously, Elon Musk, with the name of his company being Tesla, um, I see that in many. I kind of had a different view on that a long time ago when all this started. Um, I thought maybe he and Trump are working together to bring this technology out. And he has since come out. Even Elon has come out recently and said something about having superhuman healing technologies. So,
I gotta look into
um,
that.
yeah, and so I actually sent my book. I signed both of the books. I sent my book to Elon, and I just, I was thanking both of them. I believed that they were involved, whether they're going to admit it or not. It's not even important to me because I know, or what I believe. And so I sent Elon my book, and about 4 days after he got my book, he came out on X and said, we implanted a Neuralink into a human with a robot. And I immediately was like, oh, you mean like the robot on my patio?
Yeah, I'm
And
sure you'd be
then,
like, huh, I've heard this story somewhere
right.
before.
And then about 6 days after Trump got my book, he came out. And what I said to him was, I would love to make a movie about this story because I think it's one of the most amazing stories of our time. And I think it would show people what's possible with this technology and how great it is. And I said I'd love to make a movie, but I don't really trust anyone in Hollywood, so I don't even know who to contact to make that happen. And I said, "Can you help me?" And then he came out 6 days later and said, "Well, I guess we're going to make movies. I guess we're movie makers." And I was like, please let him be talking to me, you
Right.
know? And
Right.
so that's my hope one day that this story will actually be able to come out into a movie, because I think it would be great for a lot more people to hear about it. And not just the
Absolutely.
technology, but also just my experience with, dealing with my trauma, and how that technology did help me deal with my trauma, but also what I had to do, because I felt like there were things that maybe my healing would not have gone the way it did if I hadn't done the work on myself as well, you know?
For sure. I did want to
So,
just a little bit add on to that. I do know I verified with AI that Tesla did work on using electricity to heal. So he
mhm,
did have like patents, I think, or he was working on specific machines. He even came out with a specific machine to heal a specific health problem. So he was using, he was actually working on, Tesla was working technology to heal people. And I do find it very odd. Elon Musk has his Tesla company, and that, allegedly all the technology and secrets of Tesla was given to John Trump, who's connected
mhm,
to Trump. And it seems to me that Elon and Trump have been pretending not to be friends for a while,
absolutely.
because because it was like they were like, it was like oil and water. They just didn't get along. And then
Mhm,
all of a sudden they were like buddies. And then I heard even
mhm,
Trump saying like, I've been friends with Elon for a long time. We've been friends for a long time. I'm like, yeah, I think they've been working together on a bunch of projects for a
mhm.
long time, but because Elon makes so much money selling, climate change, technology and electric cars, he can't be a big conservative guy yet. But now that he's made a few $1 billion off the leftist, he can finally be like, all right, yeah, guess what? I'm working with Trump. I'm actually more of a conservative than a crazy leftist, et cetera, et cetera.
Right, right.
But
I
but
think
I do
he
think
actually
it's
he
very
considers
plausible.
himself a centrist, and
Yeah,
and
I mean,
I actually, that's pretty much what I have always been, is a centrist. I like to sit in the center. I like to look at both sides. I like to, really look at everything before I make a decision. And so I've always kind of
right.
considered myself a centrist as well.
Makes sense. I,
Yeah.
I
So
I did have one more question for you. I do
sure.
have to head out in a little bit. What would you say, through all these experiences, what was like the most one or two most dramatic changes? Like, would you say it was when you got taken up, and then literally the next day you were able to walk again without a wheelchair? And like, how much more were you able to like walk? Was it like you couldn't walk at all, and then you were able to walk a lot, or you were able to start walking again? And then like, what
Yeah.
other, like, what for you like is the most dramatic change? Like you really
So
saw a difference like night and day. You know what I mean? Like, so
yeah.
in a short period of time.
So, as I said, when I said I couldn't walk without a wheelchair, meaning not very far, like I could hobble to the bathroom,
Got it. Like you said,
which
yeah.
was close to my bed, but I couldn't get up and walk down the hallway.
Got it.
So, to be able to start walking down the hallway the day after this happened was pretty amazing. And then I started, I've always been a singer, and I had a little karaoke machine out in my living room. And so I started actually making it a goal to go out there to walk to the karaoke machine. The first day I think I walked to the karaoke machine, and then I was like, nope, got to go back to bed. And then the second day I walked out there, turned the karaoke machine on. I mean, it was like a process that, I kept getting, because I was so weak just from being in
Yeah,
bed for so long.
you have to work up your muscles. Like, I don't expect you to be
Yeah.
like, you're walking the next day, you're doing like a marathon. Come on, it's like
Right.
your muscles are have been weakened. But the fact
Yeah.
that you were literally, the fact that it was like night and day, was like you were hobbling one day, and then you get taken up. You have this experience where you're on this type of bed, this you see some beans, this snake bites you, you wake up, and then the
Hmm.
next day you feel the confidence and bravery to like walk. You try, and you are able to walk down the hall. Is that
Yeah.
accurate?
That is accurate. And also, right after that, I will say, I think I was kind of touched on the fact that my spiritual gifts were absolutely heightened during this period and after, but especially during this healing period when the frequency was hitting me. And I was writing. I didn't most of the time even know why I was writing the things that I was writing. It was like I was doing some sort of automatic writing where I think the very first thing that I just knew to write was a triangle, and I put 369 around it. And so I was getting a whole lot of information about Nikola Tesla. And I didn't really know why. I didn't really know anything about him previous to this. And so that for me was a very odd experience because, and I was getting stuff about frequencies and, writing down like 963 hertz. And like,
Mhm.
I didn't know where any of this was coming from. But I just knew that it was relevant to what I was going through. And so I filled up about 3 notebooks and I still have them, but and I haven't even looked back at them because I kind of just got out of bed and, ran. I went through a divorce. Oh, I think you said earlier, you did say that it was my husband that reached out to you. That's actually my boyfriend. I did go
Okay,
through a
guys, sorry
divorce
about
and
that. Sorry
it's
about
okay.
that. To clarify,
It's okay. But
yeah. And then
yeah, just wanted to clarify that.
yeah, yeah. And then just to get back to so the walking was very very wild how that happened so like right after each other. And then what would you say the next most dramatic thing was what you felt like the surgery on your eyes, or like what was the most dramatic or interesting or like
I think
surprising
probably Yeah, I think probably my joints was
the
definitely,
joints?
yeah, because when you've lived a life of your joints dislocating on the regular,
Like what's
um,
regular, like once a month?
I mean, it was just random, but it would, if I just put too much, you kind of get people with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome understand that you kind of get used to almost like you walk in a way where you're almost like you're kind of protecting those joints, and so you get really good at doing that. And then every now and then something happens and you're not paying attention, or something happens and you dislocate. And so like I said, I would be bartending, my knee would dislocate and I'd have to pop it back in right there while I'm working, which is horribly painful, by the way.
Oh gosh.
But so that for me was huge, that I have not had any kind of dislocation since then.
And it stopped right after the first visit or the second visit, or what happened? Was it right after, or when did it, or was it
I,
during these
I
frequency healings over a few
well,
months?
I don't really know because it wasn't like at the time when I was going through that. I mean, I definitely felt them working on my joints, and so it must have been during that time. But I can't say for sure because it was like I was getting out of bed and I was trying to walk, and I wasn't even thinking about the dislocations. I was just thinking, I've got to walk, I've got to do physical therapy. I ended up doing physical therapy for about 6 months, and that helped tremendously. So I can't say for sure, except for the fact that I remember them working on my joints, and it must have been then. But other than that, I mean, it was very obvious to me as I started getting up walking. I mean, there was one point right out, I would say maybe 4 months, maybe not even 4 months out of bed, where I wanted to make a video with the song "I'm Alive" by ELO, running down my yard and towards the camera, and because I was just so elated that I was able to not
Heal.
only walk but also run a little. I hadn't ran in years. Now I'm still,
Wow.
even though my joints feel much better, I don't go running because I don't want to hurt myself if
Sure.
it's possible. I kind of don't want to test that theory. And so I just keep with walking. But it's
You
very
want to be
possible
safe,
I
yeah.
could run. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I did want to address the one comment we got on this live stream from Ian5142. He said, God has revealed through many prophets there are no aliens, only fallen angels and demons, which can do a lot of things. I mean, look at the entertainment business, Nephilim spirits also. Well,
Mm.
here's the thing I just do want to point out. Because I think that a lot of Christians, their whole entire religion and all their beliefs are so rigid that the belief in aliens would like destroy everything, and you think you got to give up God and Christianity. As if
Mhm.
you listen to this story here, Brandy was actually didn't believe in God, and through these experiences, possibly through aliens, she's actually returned to believing in God, which actually mirrors my story. She doesn't even know yet. But
Oh.
I was an atheist as well. And as soon as I started getting abducted by aliens and all this stuff, I also went through a spiritual journey where I became extremely Christian, extremely religious.
Hmm.
total believer in God 100%. And so this whole theory that, oh, I believe in God and Christianity, and you're talking about aliens, and so that's not compatible with what my pastor said. So you're wrong, and you're spreading demon talk. You have to understand that
Right.
often, your journey to spirituality goes and comes from many routes. And for me, uh, God, understanding the universe and how infinite it is, and there's aliens and all this other stuff, that helped me believe in God more
Mhm.
than a lot of stuff I was getting in church. So, but I get that you people experience cognitive dissonance. They hear about aliens and they're like, well, my church didn't say that, and it contradicts all these beliefs, and that hurts my beliefs and my ego and this stuff. But here are the facts on aliens. Um, because I think more and more we just have to address it and talk about it. This is Trump's tweet. Um, right now, this is from, I think yesterday, because Obama talked about aliens being real. He and Trump said this was classified information. He should not have revealed the aliens are real. Trump is now declassifying aliens and UFOs. He says, based on the tremendous interest shown, I will be directing the Secretary of War and other relevant departments and agencies to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, unidentified aerial phenomenon, and unidentified flying objects, and any other information connected to these highly complex things. So he just used the word alien, not just UFO, but alien. And that's an important distinction, because if Trump, if aliens don't exist, and you're right, Ian, if aliens don't exist, Trump's going to release these files. He's the most transparent president ever. And we're going to find, oh, these were angels. Oh, these were demons. These were the Nephilim. These weren't aliens after all. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being wrong. That's fine with me. I'm not here to be right. I'm here to just, I want to learn what's right. I'm not here to like look right, like my ego.
Yeah. Or
So
this
I
was
say, let it come
military,
out. Let the truth
or
come
this
out. What,
was
Brandy?
military experimenting on humans, and whatever it is that it
Yeah.
is. I mean, also, if you want to consider that it's aliens, if you think about, I started kind of thinking about it in a way of like, I'm not really sure if it was aliens, but if it is, there's obviously good ones and maybe there's bad ones,
Hey,
just like humans. Like,
exactly.
I don't know, but I think it's almost like saying every type of person is bad, or every race, this particular race
Exactly.
is bad. It's like you
Yeah.
can't really generalize
Yeah,
anything.
that's the main problem I have, is a lot of Christians will say that aliens are all demons, they're all demonic, and anyone who talks about them, promotes them, mentions them, anything, they're
Mhm.
spreading Satanism and demon stuff. And the thing is, like,
Right.
from my personal story, what happened in Panama, we had a religious group of 200 Christians praying to God, not to Satan, praying to God for a miracle to take my mom's pain away. And what did God do? He sent three great aliens over with a technology, with a silver wand, and took my wife's took my all my mom's pain away, gone completely. So then this whole thing that we're summoning demons is just so inaccurate. How can 200 people pray to God and aliens come and take pain away, and you call all that demonic? It just not. I think it's an easy explanation, but it's unrealistic. I believe a lot of the alien phenomenon is demonic. Aliens
Mhm.
are possessed by demons. Some of them are, some of them aren't. Some of them are some alien experiences that people think are actually they can't understand it, so they call it demons.
Mhm.
I'm open-minded. I'm just saying you can't label all alien phenomenon as demonic and then
Right.
attack Christians or believers in God like me or Brandy, saying you guys are crazy and you're just spreading, demonism and Satanism. It's like, hold on, that's not the whole story. But anyway, I do have to go now. Is there anything you wanted else to share? I did want to show your book real quick
Yeah,
to
just
the
that,
audience, if you know where to buy it.
the book is on Amazon. It's Chronically Ill No More. I will say that I didn't realize at the time that I published the book that I chose better print quality for the hardback. So it's a little bit more expensive because it costs more to print it, because the pictures are going to be a little bit more clear. Everything's a little blurry, but maybe Peter can have me back on the show and we can actually show the pictures from the book and I can point out what exactly I was seeing in the pictures. I would love to do that just for people that have asked me for that.
Absolutely. You know, upon popular request, if you guys really like this interview, if you want to hear more, if you want to see those images, personally, I want to see those images. I say we do another episode, another live
Yeah.
stream with Brandy. I had a lot of fun today, and I enjoyed talking with you, Brandy. And one more
You
thing I do
too.
want to say before I go. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for your bravery. I know you've suffered. I know you've not made $1 million on your book. I know how it
Yeah.
is. You have suffered greatly for daring say that paranormal stuff that's happening is happening in your life.
Mhm.
People who speak about this lose friends, they lose family, they get attacked, ostracized, labeled as crazy. You're basically destroying your entire reputation among everyone who knows you if you start
Yep.
talking about aliens and abductions and all this stuff. And the only people who believe you are the people who actually really understand what's going on and believe that stuff. But
Right.
you were brave enough to tell your story about this, and thank you for that, Brandy. We need more people to speak up about these experiences, because if only one or two people do it, then they look crazy. But
Yeah.
I believe there are millions of people who've had experiences like this, and a lot of them are afraid to speak up. I say speak up, be
Hmm.
brave like Brandy. We need to hear your story. Make a book, make a song, make a movie,
Anything.
documentary, make your story heard. We need to hear it. And thank you so much, Brandy,
Yeah.
for
And
coming on the show today.
thank you for saying that really quickly. I just want to say my reasoning for bringing out this story is mainly for people that don't have any hope like I didn't, and that maybe are sick and they have absolutely no hope of anything good happening in the future. And so that was really for me the why I'm bringing this story out. So it has nothing to do with me or anything. It's more about, helping people have some hope. So I hope
It
they have
is.
some more hope after hearing the story.
This, I bet at least there'll be 100 people who watch this who will be inspired by you, Brandy, who feel that hope. We have a bright future ahead. I believe that we're starting to see this medbed technology come out, and if this is what happened to you, if even a little bit of what happened to you is this incredible medbed technology that came out, we have so much to be excited about. Thank you,
Yes.
Brandy. I appreciate you coming on so much. I appreciate the comment we got from Ian as well. Thank you all for watching.
Thank you,
Have a
Peter.
wonderful day.
Thank you, Peter.
For sure. Have a wonderful day. Peace out, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.